Hello, everyone, and I hope that you all are doing perfectly fine and doing well, and I'm sure that you are enjoying your Friday. So talking about Friday, this is approximate 7 p.m. in Indian time. I'm sure there are different time zones, and of course, I'm sure you're watching us because almost every week, every Friday and Saturday, we usually come live with the talk show called Riding Tiger with Arijit. So just like before, I'll be giving you a small bit of idea what is called riding tiger. So tiger is basically the business that you have. And when you start your entrepreneurial journey, your entrepreneurial life, you go for a ride. It's basically a never ending journey of your life. And why it's tiger riding? As an entrepreneur, you always have risk. When you start your business, you can't stop. If you are stopping, then two things may happen. A, your business stops, or you stop. So it's an interesting fact. Whenever a person starts their journey, they start an exciting life. And with excitement, let me welcome Ravikant. Ravikant, welcome to Riding Tiger.
Sure, Ajit, it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is mine. Ravikant, why don't you tell us something about your journey and give a small bit of introduction. And for the audience, Ravikant recently became our ambassador for World Leaders Summit and our business club. And of course, as you know that we are having our own fund, which is going to be launched in next year. Ravikant will be an integrated part of the same as well. Pleasure to have you, Ravikant. So willing to hear about you.
Yeah, sure, Ajit. The pleasure is all mine to be part of World Leaders Summit and to be a part of the great network that you have built up so far. And giving you a little background about myself, I work with global professional services firm. I head their digital side of business in Asia, and I support other regions like US and Europe and some of their internal strategy and business development. Apart from that, I'm also a founding member and a community partner for a Fintech Connector network within Asia. And the vision over there is to grow the community, to give it back the fintech society in Asia, and to have a smooth flow of capital within the fintech network. Then the other part where I am also a partner is with Pocket VC, where we have Michael as well. Pocket VC's aim is to smoothen the process of capital flow across startups. And we were recently discussing about how investments within alternate spaces have become much easier. It's just about a few clicks. But we are trying to identify an area how we could make investment within the startups much easier as well. So that's a couple of things that I'm working on currently. And with my background, I am based out of India, and I'm a huge contributor towards innovation and sustainable goals. So I have.
Ravikant, you traveled various parts of the world, as per my understanding goes, and we shared a couple of moments together while chatting over the phone. And you shared that you traveled various different parts of the world, including Asia, US, and probably in Europe. So a question to you before we go deep into a more deeper conversation. Couple of people, they feel that they're getting media news, they are getting probably some news sitting in a country, and they feel that they can actually visualize and understand the country without visiting that. And they have a firm belief that they know that country and their culture. What's your opinion? Is it true, or you really need to explore a country the way the country is?
I think the information that we get, if you're talking about social media right now, the information that we're getting over there is algorithm based, right? So you get posts, you get the information from something that's been liked by some other person within your network, or something that's suggested by some other person. And so that gives a very narrow view of a particular place, region, or even a society. If you're talking about a broader experience, visiting a place, knowing people over there is something exceptional. And I believe it has its own pros, and definitely there are some cons. You can't sit at one place at your home with a chair comfortable. You have to go there and know it. So I have a friend of mine who is in Mexico, and apparently she visited India a while back. And to be honest, she knows more of India than me. She knows all the dishes of Indian cuisine in Rajasthan. And my native place is in Rajasthan, and I don't know much about as much as she knows. So there's definitely a difference that we have when we visit a place in the real life rather than social media.
Super. And talking about your experience regarding working with funds, working with startups, share us something with related to probably growing up a startup. Probably you can share an experience of your own, maybe how exactly you started your life journey, what kind of educations you have done so far. You're a successful person and you have done so many things in life and you are looking forward and yet you are humble. So give us a small bit of understanding how you started your life journey, what happened in your school days, and maybe after the school days, maybe the university days, and how did you all of a sudden came to a structure which is basically helping startups, and how did you get that inspiration?
All right, and thank you for the kind words. Starting from my school days, I think I grew up in a very simple family. Um, I grew up in an area where most of our time went in between schools and home and playing out in the evening, and more focused towards technology at that point of time. Computer was very new for us, and I was glad to be in a region, in a place where we had access to a computer at that point of time. I think that was seed of how we began problem solving. And post that, I applied up here for IIT examination at that point of time, and I joined University of Mumbai post that. But I think I have always been a person who is a little dissatisfied by doing just one stuff. So I take a lot of things on my plate, and I feel that that is what keeps me going and satisfied and gives me peaceful sleep at night. The area that I focus majorly during my college education was about how strategical development could work out well for any sort of industry, whether it's technology, whether it's consumer goods, or so on and so forth. Now, that area has, I think, a very big impact on me, because I believe, when we're talking about startups, and when we're talking about funding investments within that, some startups have to be fundable. Some startups have to be have to have a good financial revenue structure. They have to have diverse portfolio within their team members, and definitely a perfect strategy, go-to-market strategy, of course. This would help any sort of a startup to reduce the uncertainty. And when we're talking about investments, reducing uncertainty gives a sort of a confidence to, let's say, a high net worth individual or a venture capital to invest in that particular startup. So being more quantifiable has helped me to be in place where I am currently. Not just quantifiable, but also reasonable. We always miss out the reasonable quality, but yeah, taking both of them together. And I think that's what has kept me going for such a long time. So yeah, that's how I've grown up, Arjit.
Super. And when we are talking about a fundable company, what do you mean about a fundable company?
So let's talk about a startup, right? A startup, when let's say four friends come together and they want to start a startup, the idea is to get money, get capital, so that they could build an organization. But if you're at the initial stage where it's just the ideating process, and all of them are engineers, we need to have some other elements so that that investment could help you build or create some value, and it could be a mutual beneficial process for both the parties involved, whether it's an investment firm or an accelerator, as well as the startup founders and the customers, and so on and so forth. When we're talking about SMEs, or let's say corporates, right? Let's say a particular public company is going for raising more funds from retail investors or investment bankers. So even at that point of time, they would look at their financials. They would look at what's the company projection. So I think those are the areas which are critically important for a fundable business. And yeah.
And when you are talking about probably creating a startup, My understanding goes like this. Usually in India, at least, or rather maybe different part of the world as well. I mean, people usually come together, mainly the college friends. Either they are from engineering background or some of them are from management background. They handshake with each other and say that, okay, fine, let's create something. And there are two different kind of concepts. One, I'll be creating an organization, I'll be creating a company, and that will grow eventually. Second concept, we'll be creating a company which will be mainly for raising funds and will increase the valuation, and then probably in due course of time, we'll take a exit from our own venture. So my question to you is, which one do you feel that is good, or is there anything specific that this is good or this is bad, or is it something like it all depends on your perspective, how you want to create your company, and what exactly from a VC perspective you see as a prospective investment portfolio? Is it the first one who is looking for creating their own legacy, and then in due course of time probably looking for funds? It can be growth fund, it can scale up, it can be maybe the seed capital, it can be series B, it doesn't matter. Okay, the second category is we'll be creating a company and probably increase the valuation. After that, maybe we'll take an exit, not continuing the company by ourselves. Which one do you prefer, and why and how?
Thanks. That's a good question, Arjit. I think there are two major aspects to this point. One is let's say that there's a person, there are a few founders who wants to build a new conglomerate, and they want to start building that. The area over there is, even that's a long-term strategy, you should have some short-term results to keep your financials strong. If the financials are not strong, if there is no return within short terms, building it up, building the foundation a little bit on lower financials might be a bit of a tough job. And to continue building a conglomerate with that scale might not be the correct path. So even if we are looking at building a long-term strategy, there has to be short-term goals which generate returns and keep motivated. The founders are motivated, the investors are motivated, and they can keep going. When we're looking for the other aspect where we are talking about exiting in a startup, I think that is also an area where there's a good development so far. Let's say a few founders are building a startup which they are planning to exit at some point of time. They might be thinking about how corporates would then buy them out and could invest into the structure that they have already built up and could build on top of that through their resources. So that is also a different market which they are trying to capture. Both of them have opportunities, but it is definitely a strategical approach, a return on the value that has been invested. That has to be taken care of. From an investment point of view, what I care about is how am I going to get return on the money that has been invested, and how are you going to build the value with the money that you're getting? So if both of them are in line, I think both have different markets, both have different opportunities of growing. But yeah, there has to be a roadmap for short-term as well as long-term growth.
Of course, of course. And talking to the same point and perspective, as per my understanding goes, working with multiple different funds and investors. Nowadays, investors are not at all looking for just to become a sleeping investor. They want to be a part of entrepreneur's journey. And I've seen more and more senior entrepreneurs who have probably done something in their life. They want to share their life journey, their wrong and their footsteps, which they feel that they shouldn't have done with the mentees or other investee companies. And there I have seen a great marriage between the investor and investee. Talking about the same, have you seen such kind of structure happening inside your community? And if yes, could you kindly share one or two incidents wherein probably we can learn and understand how these things grow? Because let me tell you why I'm asking you this question. A lot of people feel that investor only invest money. They don't care about what happens to the company. They are kind of shrewd, brutal kind of demon who will just come and snatch the idea, probably snatch the company, and that's the perspective, which is wrong. We all understand that. But Could you please share a few bit of those examples if you have? It'll be really nice and great.
So, let me start by saying that the market has matured, and startup is like science right now. People know the process, they know the roadmap, but it's as you mentioned, it's a collective, it's a collaborative pathway that both the investors and investee are taking together. Let's say we are going with a startup who is being funded with a venture capital. So the person who is taking that startup ahead, it becomes their responsibility to make sure that the startup grows and the venture capital gets returned from it. That's why the model has changed a little bit now. It's not that a person who is a high net worth individual or a venture capital will just transfer cash to you and they are just out of the picture and they'll come back to you when there is a deadline or they want return out of it. Right now, the idea is the market is looking forward to help the startups grow because they know that founders might not be aware about all the uncertainties that would be following up in the future. And if they could give out their experience from their side and help them go past that uncertainty, the growth, the rate, and the return would be much better than what it would be otherwise. So has definitely matured in that space.
Beautiful. Let me share one of my experience, probably that will be really relevant to a lot of people. One of my mentee, I shouldn't say it's a portfolio company. I should say initially it's of course a mentee company. They started their operation here in India and looking for a growth. They wanted to scale up into some other part of India or probably the world. So what initially I did, I connected them to the US market. Eventually, I connected them to the Middle East market. And when they were growing, I recommended them to represent India into one of the largest events in GCC countries. The co-founder went there, got a lot of press news, great amount of connections, came back here, and then eventually started operation out of Middle East once again. And these small connections helped them to grow their company from probably level 5 to level 20 in one shot, one go. And the reason people like us, we do this, we love to do this rather, is because we are in the ecosystem and we want people to grow. It's a kind of happiness. And talking about happiness, I'll be asking you now a few bit of personal question rather than talking all about finance, venture capital, angel. Let's keep that aside. Okay, let's talk something about your life. Okay, Ravikant, for the audience, we actually chatted for 2 to 3 times over the phone, and frankly speaking, I really loved this gentleman and the kind of approach that he has got. So would love to understand, Ravikant, what are your likes and how do you judge a person? Is there any formula that you follow or is just a gut feelings?
That's a question that I haven't thought about in a long time, but I think there's no formula per se. What I believe is, life teaches you a lot of things. It throws a lot of problems across in your personal space, and the way a person solves their own personal problems shows the sort of character that builds up in a short-term period. So let's say you face some personal issues and it's a dark period of your life. How do you go about it and how do you move out of it? Shows the sort of qualities that you have developed during that period of time. So I would like to know about those areas of a personal life of a person, and those are critically important to me rather than the professional work that they have done so far. Because if a person is taking care of their personal life much in a way which benefits their surrounding people, I think that helps them being more efficient in the professional side as well. So
beautiful, beautiful. Ravi, I have another question for you. In each and every person's life, there is a incident that happens. It can be maybe some friend's ceremony or maybe someone is leaving someone or whatever it is. It can be good or bad, but that changes a person. That gives that person a lot of lesson in life. which he or she can cherish and learn, experience, and probably take steps. In your life, is there any such kind of incident that happened which probably entirely changed your vision towards life and work?
I think multiple incidents, and they still happen. So I would say I would talk about one of the incidents that happened with me in a very young age, and this was around 12th grade. And so before that, as I mentioned, I have been always a studious guy, loved studying and loved gaining more knowledge out of it. So I think I was third in my school during my 10th grade. I went for IIT coaching, and within 12th grade, I failed that particular exam the first time. When I reanalyzed what happened at that point of time, I found out that there was a bias that I developed with maths and physics, and there was a strong dislike that I had with chemistry at that point of time. And I felt, this dislike has caused me something which was not acceptable. And I realized that, it's not about your likes, your dislikes. It's not about which things that you want to pursue ahead or which things do you want to leave behind. If there's a particular goal that has to be attained, it should not matter whether you like doing a thing or you don't like doing a thing. You have to do everything that helps you achieve that particular goal. So that was a lesson that I learned in a very early stage. And it has been there with me forever now. And everything that I do currently is from that particular lesson, and it has been a strong background for me.
Super. I'll go a little bit of deep now. What is life for you?
Life is this present moment. It's being happy at this present moment. When I say happy, it's a very broad word.
What is happiness for you?
It's being peaceful. It's seeing your family happy. It's seeing your family being smiling every day. And that smile for me is my personal happiness.
How do you define and quantify success?
Success is more about freedom for me. It's time which you could invest in doing what you personally feel that you should be doing this. So that is success for me. If you could find a lot of time for yourself, if you could find a lot of time doing what you really want to do, that makes you successful. It's not about monetary, it's not about relations, it's about your own satisfaction and your own pursuit.
Beautiful statement. So a lot of people usually say that success can be quantified and calculated in terms of money, which is more materialistic. But the kind of answer that you gave and the kind of belief that you have, I'm blessed that I know you, Ravi. Next question to you. Imagine that you are in a park and you are completely alone. Whom would you like to sit with?
My father. My father has a very strong influence on me. I think that has come from his experience. A son and a father has a very sort of a different relation. And a mother can express her love for her child, but a father has to be on a stronger side and has to be on a tougher side, so that he could give the future that he always dreamed about to his children. So yeah, I would love to be on a chair with my father, and would love to know more about what he has experienced in his life.
Cool. You know what? I usually do this, like this talk show is all about going impromptu without any kind of preparation, without thinking about any question. And this is getting more and more exciting. So this is the time I'll be asking you a few bit of rapid fire questions. So what I'm going to ask you, you need to answer either yes or no, or if I'm giving you choice, you need to choose in between those choices, but you can have your own opinion, doesn't matter. Okay. Superman and Batman.
So I have to choose one of them?
Yeah, or you can tell your superhero, doesn't matter.
Okay, I would go with Batman. That's the cartoon that I've seen since childhood. So.
Cool. Water and ice.
Water.
Mental satisfaction and lot of money.
Mental satisfaction.
Unicorn or 10x return in a startup.
10x return in a startup.
Imagine that you.
My father is a stockbroker, so it's always about return.
Great. So this is the question now. It's not a choice. Who is your superhero?
My parents.
Great. Your one and only love.
My parents.
Imagine that you want to retire probably maybe in next 25 years or 30 years. I don't know whether you have a retirement plan at all or not. Usually people like us, we don't think of retirement. We are always working. But imagine that you need to go for a retirement. In which place in the world you want to retire?
I have thought about it a lot of time, and let me elaborate a little bit. So when I was in my young age, childhood, about 3, 4, I used to visit my native place, and I used to play with animals there. I used to bathe them, I used to feed them, and all that. And that was a very pretty incident, which I felt at that point. So once upon a time, I was just feeding a cow, and I just slept over there. And my relatives and my mom says that that cow, because I used to be so close to her, I used to bathe her, I used to feed her every day. She curled around me while I was sleeping, and she did not allow anyone else to come closer to me. So that picture is still there in my mind, and that's sort of the time. That is time that I would like to go back to, and yeah, that place is my happy place as well.
Beautiful. Do you know that I draw and I'm in a core, I'm an artist. I'm just visualizing the entire picture. For sure, I'm gonna draw and give you the gift.
That'll be
beautiful, beautiful, excellent. You know what? I promised you that we are going for a 30 minutes to 40 minutes maximum interaction. I believe that I kept my word. It's only 32. I overshooted 2 minutes because I really loved interacting with you. So for the audience, once again, to be very honest, you don't get a chance, an opportunity to interact with such kind of person who has got a lot of depth, a lot of knowledge, and he is actually talking from experience. It's not that he's just giving answer, to be very, very honest. He has got depth and knowledge and humbleness. You know why this humbleness is coming? Because the wiseness is speaking. It's not that he has got information which is translated into knowledge. The knowledge uplifted, filtered, and went to a sea, which is sea of knowledge, and gives an extract back. Okay, and that extraction probably sometimes become a pearl. That pearl is that wiseness that he has got. Beautiful. Ravi, is it fine to connect with you probably in social media? If yes, how people can find you, and where exactly you'd like to connect them with? Is it in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter? Please help us with your social media handles so that people can connect you back.
Sure. People can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more active over there. And maybe I would paste my LinkedIn URL in one of the Facebook chats. Just maybe we can pin that as well, so that people could easily navigate to that link. And yeah, I'm quite available on that. So if anyone wants to have a chat, I'm more than happy to speak to them as well.
Beautiful. See you soon, Ravikant, in our World Leader Summit in November. And we will be having all the interaction with all our ambassadors and a couple of new speakers and change makers happening from 5th to 9th of November. We overshoot it with change makers. Right now, we have approximate 130 speakers from around 95 plus countries, which is really, really exciting. So looking forward to having you and having more and more interaction. Please keep supporting us, keep loving us. Feel free to connect with him. And of course, we have a guest with us, which probably we didn't mention. He's a silent guest. But before I go for an ending, I would love to call upon Michael. Michael, could you please turn on your video and tell us something about you and maybe grace your presence with us? Are you there?
I doubt he's not there, but maybe I could share a little bit about Michael. So Michael is a part of Pocket VC team. As I mentioned, this is the mission with Pocket VC is to smoothen the capital flow across startups, and we are partnering with venture capitals, with individuals to grow the network within Asia and India specifically. And the mission is very much aligned with the belief that we want to make sure that the capital flow and the value creation is done in the right order. So, yeah.
Super. So Michael would love to have you probably in our next talk. Please be with us and keep supporting us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you soon in our next show.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Oh yeah, you're here, Michael. Please turn on your video.
Hi.
Come on.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael. I work in Pocket VC, and we are creating a platform, as mentioned earlier. So we are glad to invite all of you to our waitlist because we will launch soon. That's why don't miss any updates and keep in touch.
Sure, Michael. Would you mind if you can turn on your video so that audience can see you?
Yeah,
Hey,
hi.
Michael. So you're from, I guess you're from some part of Eurasia, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, excuse me. I had some issues, but now I eliminated them.
No problem, no problem, no worries. But happy to see you, Michael. Happy to see your face once again. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank
Thank you.